Connecting. There you are.
Hi, there we
Hi.
go. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I love your beautiful brick wall, very different from my childhood bedroom finger paint wall.
That's amazing.
It's absurd, but I love it. It's great to be here.
Yeah. How's it going?
It's not too bad. I'm adjusting. So I live, as you know, in New York City, in an apartment, one bedroom in Manhattan. I roughed it out for roughly 2 months, and now I'm with my family, and my little brother's home, and my parents. So it's the four of us for the first time in this extended capacity for quite a while, and it's interesting. I like hear my parents doing their legal court case jargon conversations on one end. I hear my brother like doing workouts, grunting like at a social distance with his friends in the driveway. So it's an adjustment, but I'm enjoying it. What about you?
I am staying with my sister. As you know, I think that this was sort of a miraculous turn of events where I live in Chelsea in a one bedroom as well in New York, and my
Mm.
sister lives on the Upper West Side. And she and her husband have a very small two bedroom. So I came to stay in their second bedroom just to feel closer to family.
Yeah.
That was quite close. So but her neighbor has sort of left the city, so now I have my own two-story, two-bedroom apartment with a terrace.
Okay, girl.
So amazing. But my mom is going to come join us and stay with us here in the two bedroom. So I'll soon have a roommate. Uh,
Oh,
yeah, so we'll be going through the family thing too.
there you go. Is it just going to be you and your mom?
Yeah, for the two bedroom, it will be just the two of us. We're on the fifth floor, and then Jen is on the fourth floor.
Got it. I love
Yeah,
that. Cute.
yeah, yeah.
Did you have like mother-daughter activities planned?
I'm sure she does.
Oh yeah.
So let me introduce you and say a little bit about what we're coming together for.
Awesome.
Um, Madeline and I were put in touch through a mutual friend, Alicia Mann, who is amazing. And I was asking Alicia who she knew that had a good sense of music, and she said Madeleine Dopico for sure, because you are also a singer-songwriter
Yeah.
and just released your first full album.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and also, you're in school for therapy, future therapist.
Yeah, I'm getting my master's at Columbia.
So that was an amazing kind of combination of things. I feel like for what we're doing here at Baloo, looking for ways to create some beautiful music and share music with people while we're at home, and also sort of bringing a perspective of mental health and mental wellness to our work. So really happy that she introduced us.
Yeah, me too.
And we thought it would be fun to come on to a live together to talk about sort of keeping our sanity or not, what it looks like right now, just sort of to be human and connect and share that publicly. So thanks for joining me here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm so happy to be connected.
And this is my first scheduled Instagram live ever, so yay.
Yeah, I did my first to promote my album release. I did like a little live performance on Instagram Live, and I was constantly contacting my friend like, "How do I do this?" Like I felt like an old person asking a teenager how to do the hip cool thing. So you're not alone, girl.
But you're on TikTok?
I just got a TikTok. I am Dopico. See y'all
Great,
there.
great.
I actually have very lofty plans to make my parents do a TikTok with me this
Mm-hmm.
weekend.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how it goes.
That's good for everybody.
Yeah, I think it would be fun. We'll see. I like have a little like scripts written out for them of things I want them to do. So my no one else in my family is artistic or a performer.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't tell if that means they're going to be extra excited to participate or if they're going to be resistant to it, but we'll find out.
They can't go anywhere else.
Exactly. I can trap them into my TikToks.
Yeah. So tell me just about what it's been like. I think a little bit probably of a roller coaster, but um, how are you approaching sort of taking care of yourself right now?
Yeah, so it's It's a roller coaster. Definitely, I think for everybody. I think that there's so much, there's such a lack of predictability. There's so much uncertainty. None of us know when this will be over. We check our phones when we get an alert. I know every time I get a notification from Notify NYC, I'm like, oh God, is the world ending or is the world back to normal? And I sort of fear both. Like, what's crazy is I almost fear going back to what normal means too. And I've been
Mm-hmm.
thinking a lot about this, and in terms of my self-care practices, I'm seeing so many people say, and I talked about this on my Instagram yesterday, people are saying self-care is so important right now. Like eating what you need to eat is okay right now. Really focusing on music and sitting with your feelings is okay right now. And I'm sort of thinking, wait a minute, but right now only? Are you telling me that once the world reopens, we're not supposed to be taking care of ourselves and we're not supposed to be talking about our mental health and feelings? And I think that I sort of have some anxiety around that, and
Mm-hmm.
really hoping that this time where we've all been forced to change our habits, we've all been forced to find other ways to connect with each other, feeling isolated, we've all been forced to give up control in a lot of areas where we're used to having habits and control. I'm hoping that that introspective time lasts. Like, I hope that we take these times beyond quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
So sort of to channel that, my self-care habits, like, is a lot of exercise, a lot of cooking. I love to be creative with what kind of foods I want to make. I don't follow recipes. I just kind of like have a ton of groceries and then I say, okay, what the hell can I make with this? It's gotten really creative. Like, I'll
That's
put like
amazing.
really weird things in a quesadilla. Pro tip, like pretty much anything can go inside a quesadilla.
With cheese, yes.
With, oh yeah, like literally anything. I made, I'm Cuban, so I made ropa vieja, which is this like shredded delicious meat. And the number of different meals I made with the leftovers of that, put that in a quesadilla, I put that in pasta, I put like, so that creativity, it's like a little sense of agency, and like that's something I can control, right? Like, here are all the moving parts of groceries and creativity, and like now I have put my hands on this, I put my mind on this, I've made this my own. Like, doing that often makes me feel good. And then another practice I've adopted, other than just like making music and practicing, I have, if y'all can see in my hilarious childhood bedroom, my my music equipment. So I make music every day, and I've been working to promote the album, but I've really found my own routine of working late at night.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly don't go to bed before 3 or 4 a.m. And your products, I've already like thanked you profusely. I swear to God, I was not sleeping till worse than that, like pretty much just not sleeping much with my album
Mm-hmm.
release and school finals and papers. And Elizabeth sent me the weighted blanket and the sleep mask, and I told her that I was kind of angry at her the other day because I slept till 1 p.m. I was so comfortable, and I truly haven't slept till 1 p.m. since I was a teenager, so that's pretty hilarious.
That's amazing
But
though when you give yourself permission to just get as much sleep as you need.
yes, exactly. Permission to get the sleep that I need, and permission to find. So when you asked originally about self-care, like permission to find my own individualistic schedule that works for me.
Mm-hmm.
And people are saying to me, "Oh, well, you have to get back on a proper schedule. What about your proper schedule?" And I'm like, "But who defines proper schedule?" I have a life where my music I can do at the hours I need. I'm fortunate enough that my summer classes aren't going to start till 1 p.m. So who dictates what a proper schedule looks like? And why did it take this pandemic for me to say, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
I am more productive in my definition of productive late at night, when I'm able to detach from my phone. I'm not worried about what anyone else is doing. I'm not worried about the alerts that are going to come in. I'm not thinking, where's Alicia? Where's Tara? What are they doing? Like, I'm just focused on me. I'm really in touch with myself, knowing everyone else is asleep. And
Mm-hmm.
I just get into this like creative, concentrated, focused energy. And I'm not able to get into that in the proper work hours. So why can't my definition of proper be what works for me?
Yeah. I have a sister who's got a similar like inclination as you, and
Mm-hmm.
she struggles with sleep so much to the fact where it's hard for her to get to places on time in the morning, and she has jobs that starts at a certain time. You've got to be at work.
Yeah.
But I was listening to a podcast recently talk about the differences of our circadian rhythms and our design, and why there's morning people and why there's night people, because if
Mm-hmm.
you think that we're living in the savannah or we're living in the wild, you need some members of your tribe that are naturally awake at night to protect you. And then
That
you
makes
have other
sense.
people that sleep during the day and who are active, vice versa. So
I love
it does
that.
make perfect sense. And so there's
Yeah.
a lot of shame, I think, that goes in our society around, people who get up early are somehow like good and people who sleep late are somehow lazy. But that's not true. If that's how your body's designed, you should work
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah. I I agree. And I think um those standards of what we associate with lazy, I'm a stickler about productivity can mean a lot of things. Productivity doesn't just have to mean your job and typing like this on a computer. Like sitting with yourself and your feelings and your thoughts is also extremely productive.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said too, these associations, you also might be, by anyone's definition, extremely productive at 3 in the morning and then sleeping till noon, right?
And
Like you might even
also,
be on your spreadsheets.
I think the word lazy is even like we don't really even need that word. No one's really lazy. And if you are, maybe you're avoiding something so you're kind of shut down, but you're not lazy.
Yeah.
It's much more complex than that.
I agree. Something I talk about all the time, in a similar language and structure. And I actually have a song called Too Much TV, so I love television. But I can't stand when if you say to somebody, "Oh, I spent a lazy Sunday," I spent a rainy Sunday watching TV all day. People are like, "Oh, that's so lazy." But if you say, "I was reading books all day," people are like, wow, you're
Yeah.
so smart, you're so intellectual and amazing. And it's like, wait, but also sitting and watching television, if that's what makes you either whatever it is you need to be doing, if you need to be relaxing, tuning out, or maybe you're very actively watching television, maybe it's something that you like to analyze and think about and pick over in your mind, and your wheels are
Mm-hmm.
turning. Or maybe what you need is for your wheels to chill. Like, why is it that we have these biases of what is considered worthy and what is considered a waste of time? And I think that comes from external validation and looking at what other people expect of us rather than what we need, which actually to me is
Mm-hmm.
like not productive, right? Like that's like the
Yeah.
antithesis of productivity is not doing what actually makes your life better.
Yeah. There's
So I
so
also
much
watch
in
TV
that.
as self-care.
Yes. um, we had this a short conversation the other day when we were talking about productivity, which is
Yeah.
something that's been on my mind for a lot of things, and it's something I think about a lot because in running Baloo, there's so much that a vision that I have, and there's so much I'm excited to execute on, and so I can sometimes really work really hard with varying degrees of results, and the result usually is um, a factor of sort of how much energy I really have to give to something. Because if you're spinning your wheels, then a lot of times you think you're being productive, but you're not really producing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think the point I wanted to make was sort of to distinguish between this idea in our culture that we have of needing to define ourselves through our productivity, that somehow if we are productive, we've earned our place or our right to be here, which
Mm-hmm.
I think is such a weight on our collective shoulders that we all have. It's how we kind of measure ourselves, measure our self-worth in a way. And it's completely on a different, it's not on the same scale even of relating to life. to say that life is not about your productivity, it's about living. And so how do you measure that quality of life? And that gets left out of the whole discussion. And
Yeah,
there goes an ambulance.
I
But that was
completely agree.
something that I had a lot of perspective on when I took a sabbatical in 2017, and for the first time separated myself from any job title, identity. I had no place. I couldn't say, oh, I'm a student backpacking. Oh, I'm on sabbatical, but my real job is this. I had no place to put myself or a label to give myself other than just kind of burnt out person who doesn't know what they're going to do next.
Yeah.
um,
But being a
and
person, right? Like how, like at the end of the day, that is your identity, right?
That's right. And I realized, I don't have to do anything to deserve to be here. I deserve to be here because I'm here.
Yeah.
And that
And
was beautiful.
do you feel, so do you feel like that time without an identity almost then led you to create this company? Because now I would imagine that even if you're not defined by the productivity of your company, like it is a big deal. You're a female entrepreneur. You're making a living doing everything that you're doing, running a business. So do you see now that as part of your identity, and not having one then led you to define your own, or do you think you still detach them?
It's I feel so free because I don't feel at all attached to my identity through the company or through what I do.
Mm.
I feel like I've found a project that I lose myself in, and I do it because I love it. And if it didn't work out or I had to change course, it's going to continue to shift and evolve, and I'm not attached to what it becomes. Um, I'm actually using it as my personal development. Like, this is the best way to develop myself personally that I've ever discovered, which is trying to run a company and constantly be challenged by my own limitations and having to keep growing and keep getting uncomfortable and keep expanding, and facing fears and taking risks. And that's what it's all about for me. And then also, I feel like the whole idea and the vision for the product and the brand that came to me while I was sort of cleared out and had a lot of space and was sitting with myself in Bali was coming through me, but it's not from me. So I'm here in service of something that's coming through me that had to come out. And I feel like as long as I can stay tuned into that and continue to express from that place with faith that the source of this direction or the source of this message can be trusted, then I can keep moving forward and things will keep going the right way. That's not to say that we'll keep growing the business or keep making more money, but like whatever happens is what's supposed to be happening for this project called like business.
Yeah. I love that. I so relate to that on a lot of levels. I like to think of like our main project is ourselves, right?
Yeah.
That's our main project. And what do we want for ourselves? What do we want to feel? How do we want to identify ourselves as people? What feelings do we like? Do we want happiness? Do we want personal growth? Do we want to feel like we're helping? Do we want to feel like we're connecting? Do we want to feel like we're creating? What are these overarching feelings and experiences? And how do we want to grow and evolve with them throughout our lives? And what job might enable us to get there? What structures and constructs might allow us to get to these personal goals and feelings, rather than, unfortunately, I feel like a lot of society teaches us, go for that job that's shiny and that people respect, and
That's
that'll
safe.
make you happy. It's like the opposite direction. You go for the job that's supposed to make you feel personally fulfilled, or the job that's supposed to make you seem like you're helping, or the job, or even a relationship, you're supposed to define it in a certain way such that you feel like you have connections that are deemed worthy. And instead, I kind of think it's the opposite. Like we could all afford to spend more time thinking about what we want to feel first, and then think of things and shape the other opportunities that we pursue to help us get there.
So what was the process like for you when you were in a good looking, safe job in what industry? Creative
Health
industry?
tech.
health tech.
Mm-hmm.
And then you made the decision that you wanted to become or give yourself full time to music.
Yeah.
And it didn't make sense on paper, right? And your community was like for it, against it, probably a lot of opinions.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So I went to UPenn, and I like to joke that even if you're not in the business school there at Wharton, everyone culturally feels like they're in the business school. And other people could disagree, but my personal experience was that everyone I met wanted to know what flashy internship I was going to have, at what bank, at what consulting firm, how much money I was going to make. It felt like such a small boxed in view of what value and self-worth looks like, and what status looks like, and productivity looks like. And so I felt a lot of pressure. I always had my creative endeavors and my creative pull, but I felt the need to try to get, a sexy job. So I, got jobs that I thought would impress people. And I spent my early 20s at the bars saying, yes, I'm an account consultant at this trendy, best place to work New York startup. And I realized that I just wasn't even proud of saying that. I was like rushing through my days, working for like, I wasn't, it didn't matter. It didn't matter. It was so much more important to me to be like, I would rather just say, oh, I'm doing nothing. And I wasn't doing nothing. I was doing freelance. I was doing music, finding ways to support myself. I had to make money. I had to find my own way. But I would rather sit and say to this person at a bar, oh, yeah, no, I'm lazy and I do nothing and I don't have a cool job. And I would still be more fulfilled than the opposite. And kind of letting go of my life being about impressing somebody else was really important. And I quit my job without a plan. My mantra just kind of became, I'll figure it out. It was like, I'm going to get freelance jobs. I'm going to contact everyone I know who needs work. I have skills. I had to be just
Was it an
open.
issue at all for you dealing with what other people thought?
Oh yeah, it was hard for a while. I went through periods of definitely low self-esteem. I went through periods of closing myself off to people. I definitely was not as honest or vulnerable with my feelings. I wanted to put on a front of confidence that wasn't there. And that lack of authenticity made me really secretly unhappy for like a while. And it really took, this album was even part of it. I mean, even as to recently, I feel like actually creating the art, actually seeing that I could just follow my heart and find new opportunities. I worked as like an office manager, which like people in my life were like, you don't even need a college degree to be an office manager. And I'm like, but this is a part of my path. Like, this is a part of what's working for me. And just tuning that out took a really long time. And it took a lot of just creation and reflection and introspection. It took a lot of silence, like something, I'm a bit of a tangent, but everyone's so into music and podcasts and whatever, and that's great. I'm a musician. Please listen to my music and please listen to this IGTV. However, I know so many people who like never sit in silence. Never.
Yeah.
Even if they're cooking, even if they're showering, even if they're whatever it is, there's always something on. And they don't really sit with their thoughts. And if you ask them, what do you think about? What do you think about in a day? If you're not thinking about work, if you're not thinking about your friends, if you're not thinking about things that the external world tells you to think about, what do you think about? Well, how does your brain work? And I'm astonished at how many people are like, I don't know, because I sit with my podcast. So I think for me, it took a really long time of avoiding the temptation to distract from my thoughts, of actually saying, I do feel insecure. I do feel pressure. I do feel like I'm playing a part to try to please other people. Wow, I'm gross. Like, not to say that anyone who's doing that, is to be ashamed. I'm just talking you through like the level of honesty I had of myself.
And once you sit in silence though, and you realize, okay, maybe you have these things that you think aren't cute, You're
Yeah.
like, okay, but it's really not that bad. I don't need to avoid it. I can just see it and accept it and love it and say, that's there for a reason. That's there to try to protect you from something, and allow it. And then it usually will just pass. But I like what you're saying. I think that it is a process. And I think that we see people who may have made bold decisions or taken leaps of faith like you and I both have, and think like, oh, well, they made it look like it was pretty easy because look how well things are working out for them. But I think it's the most courageous, terrifying thing that you can ever do to make. It's like you step out of the lane. Everyone is swimming hard in this lane, and to go outside of it feels terrifying. And it's the
Absolutely.
most courageous, boldest thing that I think that we can do for ourselves as humans, as individuals, is listen to our heart and do what it tells us to do, especially when there's no one else telling us to do that. And it doesn't feel great right away.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think it's a process. It's a long process of weeks or months of figuring out, okay, I made this change, now what, and now what, and now what. And then you kind of need a little bit of time, I think, to get some evidence and experience, and even prove to yourself that it was the right thing to do. And I think that there's always this fear that that I won't be able to prove to myself that it was the right thing to do. But what always happens is that you do prove it to yourself.
I
You just
mean,
don't know what it's
yeah,
going to look like.
trial and error, baby. I live and die by trial and error, and the error is just as important. Just as important.
But
The
it's your
quiet ones,
error.
yeah.
It's the one that you made. It's not someone else's.
Hell yeah. It's
Yeah.
exactly. And I think I said this to you last time, but something that I say to myself too when I feel like my music isn't successful enough, or I didn't do as well writing that paper on my therapy for my therapy exam. I'm the guilt and the self-loathing is so real. Like it's so easy for us to be angry at ourselves. It's astonishing to me how I think humans naturally, I like to believe, I'm an optimist, want to help each other and want to help each other feel better. But then we have to like find excuses to allow ourselves to make ourselves feel better. And when I look back at something that I wish had gone differently, I just say, if that's who I was in that moment, then that's who I needed to be. And like that, just saying that to myself over and over really does let me let go and look at something that I was criticizing or perhaps judging negatively before and make me see it as a positive that's only,
Mm-hmm.
like we said, that's only going to help me in this project of life.
Yeah.
Like it's part of the project of life. And
Right.
what we deem worthy of being part of that journey, I think can always shift and expand.
I think
Um,
that mhm.
Go ahead.
There's something sort of exciting about um, change in general, because it always sort of means like, oh, you have the option to change course. Maybe you were headed in one direction with the inertia of that movement, and we are in a period where there is a lot of change, and sometimes we have to choose, especially people who are losing job offers or internship offers or jobs.
Yeah.
um, it can feel like it's the worst thing ever, but there really also can be a lot of exciting freedom that comes from that, because you have sort of like a new future you get to create. What is it going to be? um, I don't want to be insensitive to people that have a lot of financial stress and a lot of obligations and pressure. Um, but there is some sort of opportunity here too, I think.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
so
I think so. I've read a lot about the concept of resilience. And I actually have seen that I've had my own misconceptions about resilience. And I think a lot of people have. I've seen messaging saying, stay resilient, girl. Like, you have resilience. Like, we're all resilient. And it's like, actually, that's not necessarily true. So, what I've learned about resilience is that it's not innate. You're not just
hmm,
born resilient. Like maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's Maybelline. Maybe she's just fabulously resilient because she's amazing. Like, no, resilience is something that we have to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, some people have been forced to because of unjust systems. That's a whole separate rant that I could go on, but there are people who have been forced to build resilience out of injustice, and my heart goes out to them. But then for a lot of us, we haven't really faced adversity needed to grow resilience. And a lot of us, myself, like I've lived a pretty privileged life and I'm very fortunate for that. And dealing with uncertainty, dealing with losing a job, dealing with change unexpectedly and a lack of control, it is an opportunity. It's an adversity where it's an opportunity to grow resilience, to grow your thought processes and your reactions to your stress, your reactions to your thoughts, and the way that you have to cope creates this ability. It's like a snowball to be able to cope further and cope further and cope further down the line. So I do see the silver lining in us all kind of having an opportunity to grow more resilience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And it does remind you of what's really important right now, which might not be shopping. It might be making time to be intentional about people you connect with, because now you're not bumping into each other the way you used to.
Yeah, absolutely.
And coming back to how we started this conversation, which is self-care, like our health becomes priority.
Our health, but our health should always be a priority,
Yeah.
right? And that's what I'm really gonna just, I don't know how. I hope that the community of people chime in. I hope that our community of people who believe in wellness and believe in self-care find a way to really say, self-care isn't good right now. Self-care is
Mm-hmm.
good, period.
Mm-hmm.
Focusing on your health isn't just good right now. Focusing on your health is good, period. And I'm very hopeful that that will be a silver lining too, coming out of this pandemic. Yeah, I'm hopeful.
Yeah.
I actually had a question for you. I've been thinking about this whole time. So
Yeah.
you talked a lot about growing yourself and being introspective, but then and kind of detaching this business from the entire meaning and self-worth of your life, that it kind of flows through you instead. However, you do still have to, I'm sure, have late nights and work really hard running a business. So how do you make time? Like for me, balancing things, music does that. Like music is my time to be introspective and piece my different values and different experiences together. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
wondering for you how you're able to make time to just reflect on yourself as a whole, but then also reflect on like, how's my business doing? How's my brand? How do you balance that?
Yeah. As someone who used to spend a lot of time in sort of reflection and journaling and introspection as I was looking for my path, um, it's been really challenging now because every waking moment I have to stop myself from thinking about work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's funny because I love work. So I don't want to stop myself from what I love, but at the same time, I have to separate myself from it and give myself permission to have thoughts that don't have anything to do with work, that have to do with myself and how am I doing and how do I feel. And it's been really hard for me sometimes. I think every day is different. I mean, we were saying this pandemic period feels like a roller coaster. I kind of also feel like my life feels like a roller coaster all the time because I'm constantly adjusting to trying to manage my energy. My default is to think I've got to manage my energy so that I can bring my best self for the business. But what about managing my energy for myself, just for myself?
Mm-hmm.
That's where I sort of I'm not I have a little bit of trouble right now because and I really enjoyed our conversation the other day about productivity and when we chatted briefly and I've thought about it a lot. So there's this thing about balance, right? Where we say everyone's trying to achieve balance, have it all. And I really love, um, okay, so Eat, Pray, Love. There's a part where the super hot guy, I forgot his name right now, tells her, he's like, balance isn't, you don't have balance in this day or maybe even in this week, you have balance across your life. So maybe right now I go all in on work because that's what there is for me to do right now. That's the phase of my business. That's what's happening. And this is where I am. I'm building a business. But it's not going to be forever. So like there's this phase, and then the next phase might be something else and something else. And over the course of your life, you kind of find a balance. So that's sort of something I wonder. It's like maybe it's okay. I can give myself permission to go all in on this project right now because that's what there is for me to do. But on the other side of the coin,
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Thinking through it, though, I mean, thinking through it is definitely the way that definitely the most crucial part.
Yeah.
It's being aware of it and noticing it and naming it.
And I've even knowing that we were going to speak about this topic, I've been paying more attention to what are the things that I do to take care of myself. And something as simple as putting on makeup and putting on my favorite jeans and my favorite t-shirt and coming to my desk and feeling pretty, to me, is self-care.
Yeah.
And then I just got a Revel membership, which is the moped scooters that you can rent around New York City.
Oh, that's so fun. Badass.
So fun. I mean, I don't recommend them if you're not comfortable on a moped because it could be really dangerous. But that was my primary mode of transportation for almost 2 years when I lived in Asia. So I'm comfortable on one. And so going outside and just taking a 10-minute ride around the neighborhood on the moped just because it's a beautiful day is like the best. So it's really little things that I've tried to add to my day here and there. And that's what I got.
I love that. I've been I love when you were like, if you're not someone who's comfortable on a moped, and I'm like, I don't know that about myself. That's not like I'm not a self-aware enough person to know if I'm comfortable on a moped. I can't say I have. That's just like not on my
Start slow is all.
Yeah, I don't know that about myself. Maybe in our next Instagram live I can tell you if I'm comfortable on a moped. But I've been having like dance parties outside by myself. Swear to God, I look insane. Like, if anyone
I did that yesterday.
Oh my God, it's so fun. It is such a mood lifter. If anyone on here is from my hometown of Sleepy Hollow, if you just like go down at noon to the river, like you will see me like with my headphones, like jamming out. And I even like find this little practice helpful sometimes when I do see someone walk by. My instinct is like, oh no, stop. And I just try to push myself to be like, no, like I'm not hurting them. I'm not hurting them by continuing to dance it out. And kind of like doing that more and more and being like, I'm doing this for me. It's just so helpful. I feel free, just like super free, and feeling free at a time that we're quarantined. That's magical, right? Like that's magical because we so often don't feel free. We feel trapped. We feel isolated. We feel uncertain. So whatever the hell it is that makes you feel free, that's productive, baby. I don't care what it is.
I want to say that movement is the best thing ever. I did a yoga class last night and I got so inspired, so many new thoughts and ideas just because I think, we get locked up in our bodies being sedentary. And so by moving, sort of like releases ideas. I feel like they were stuck in my body and they got the chance to come up.
Yeah, I love that. And we have the freedom too. I urge people to experiment right now. Like a good thing working from home, if you're not used to it, is like try standing up if you don't usually do a standing desk. Try like changing every time you change tasks, sit in a different place, stand in a different place, run around the block if you are fortunate enough to live in a place where you can do that like every half hour. Just experiment and see what works best for you. Like what a unique opportunity where experimenting in an office can feel a little bit
awkward,
less realistic. But like now is the time to figure out our own superpowers, right? Like we're not all the same, we're not all designed the same thing doesn't work for everybody. And like it's a real opportunity to try and see, learn about ourselves and learn how we thrive best. Because why not? And what's the worst thing that can happen is you just ran around the block and decided that that doesn't work for you. Okay.
Yeah, nope.
That's one more thing I know about
Check.
myself. I know I'm not a moped person, and I know I don't like runs around the block, you know?
Yeah.
But learning about ourselves, knowledge is power.
Yeah, and I want to say we're probably not going to be on for too much longer, so if anyone has any questions, pop them in the chat, and we can talk to those points.
This has been so fun, and I've seen so many people scrolling through. I just want to say thanks to everyone on here. And I also need to plug my album because
yes.
I am trying to get it out there. I care so deeply about it, and I care so deeply about connecting with other people through music, and hopefully lifting spirits during quarantine. So my album is
Dopico.
Yeah, Dopico. They can find it on Spotify, iTunes, Tidal, anywhere you listen to music. It's there. It's a self-titled album, Dopico. There are a lot of different energies and emotions. Like, you'll dance your ass off, and then like eventually you'll cry, or so I hope. So feel it out. And also, I'm plugging you, whether you like it or not, because I am actually truly obsessed with Baloo's products. When I got introduced to Elizabeth, I was like, oh, well, she's really cool, but like that's going to be awkward if I don't really like her products and then I have to be fake and pretend I do. I'm like truly, truly obsessed, and I've never slept better. So do yourselves a favor and also check out Baloo's stuff.
Yeah, we have weighted blankets, and we have a crystal eye mask. We're the only eye mask out there that has a pocket to hold a crystal over your third eye chakra, which just makes it super fun. So you can choose your crystal, and with or without the crystal, the eye mask is so comfortable and cozy, and I sleep with one every night. But I notice when I use the purple fluorite stone that I have the most interesting dreams.
Ooh, I need that one.
Yeah.
Cool.
We're having a sale for Memorial Day weekend. When you buy the eye mask, you get all 4 stones included, which is amethyst, rose quartz, purple fluorite, and blue lace agate. So
amazing.
Plug for the Memorial Day sale.
I'm honestly probably going to get another one. I love them. And they stay on.
They
like
stay
other
on.
sleep masks I've had, they move and they fall off and blah, blah, blah. This one just like melts on your face and you completely forget it's there. And it looks cute. Like, yeah. I'm going to be a little shallow. Like, I still want to look cute sometimes when I go to sleep. And it's super cute.
Thanks. Yeah. Thanks for saying that.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so great to chat with you and connect and see your face.
So great to connect with you. And to anyone on here who I don't know, my Instagram's I am Dopico. Follow me. I'll likely follow you back if you ever want to chat. I'm just super
love the music. Like, love the music.
Oh,
it's so great.
You.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have a favorite song, but I forgot the name of it right now. But it's the dance beat. Really fun.
Take Care of Myself. Probably the self-care song.
Yeah.
If I knew you.
Yeah.
There's a self-care song on the album.
Perfect.
We'll have to make a music video dancing with the eye mask.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much, Elizabeth. This was
Thank
so
you
fun.
too. Thanks everyone who joined us, and you guys have a great day.
Have a good one, y'all. Take care of yourselves.
Bye-bye.
Bye.